Hello, and welcome to episode 5, I believe. 5 weeks already, flying by, and I'm not making a mistake this time. I made a note of the right episode because that was stupid. I literally had only done 4 episodes by that point, and I managed to get it wrong. So, what's up, everyone? It's Eddie from Eddys in Emporium, and yeah, today it's just the weekly update vlog about how things are going in the business. It has been a busy week, more ways than one. Another kind of one for the history books. Kind of off the back of last week or the weeks before as well with the pre-order functionality, so that's came in quite clutch, but we'll get to that in a second. So, on the points that I've noted down this week, firstly, I'm thinking about, not right now, but in the future, buying a vending machine. This is one of kind of a different avenue. My business model obviously is always going to be remote. It is a low cost, high volume in terms of shifting product model. And by doing that, I think it's going to be really important to maximize kind of revenue streams. And one revenue stream that's always going to be out of my grasp is, face-to-face interactions. And I was like, well, there's been quite a few success stories. You see them in America all the time. And I was like, well, how can I tap into that? And obviously vending machines are the most obvious one. You've seen them, people fighting at Walmart and things like that. While I'm not doing something of that scale, maybe not as glamorous, you'll have probably seen them like yellow Pokemon vendors over in like gas stations, malls and things like that. Shopping centres, please don't cancel me, my fellow Brits. That's what I'm looking at right now, because I was thinking, if you smartly place something there and you give them access to a product in which they want, there will be impulses, and there'll be kind of people just tapping on the go. And if you can give them the access to the product, that's also 90% of the fight right now. So with having access to One Piece, Pokemon, Pokemon of the Japanese kind more specifically, I do feel that there is a business benefit there. The upfront cost ranges from about 1,500 to about 2,500. While that is a lot, I think the machine holds about 600 packs. If you assume the Japanese 5 booster pack kind of packs, if you sold them at like say £4.50, depending on whether you're renting the spot or not, don't really know how that works, it would pay itself off within the first cycle of itself. And then you're also tapping into revenue from an alternative source that isn't just online. And I do think there are areas that have really good footfall, and I don't see anything quite near me yet. So that's something that I'm going to be actively revisiting, but also, you need the capital there. Crazy amounts of products coming out. I want to make sure that first and foremost I'm delivering to the people that are loyal to the website, to Eddys Emporium, and we'll go from there. So, if you live under a rock in the TCG world, everyone's been going wild for, the collector booster boxes for Magic the Gathering, and, nothing's changed with the Avatar product line being released. I managed to get hold of, I think it was about 7 collector booster boxes on the reservation list for my distributor. So that's all put down. And because of that, I also managed to get the 12 of the play boxes. And they're slightly more expensive than, your standard ones. I don't know whether that's because they charge for like licensing or whatever. But yeah, that was nerve-wracking from me as a business owner. I've ordered from a distributor multiple times, made many reservations, they've never not given me what I've reserved. So that's not a worry. The stress comes from, the quantity in terms of like how much it costs me as a business owner when you think you've got all the other different releases coming out. You're committing to buy essentially when you put the reservations down. And that's why I was really keen to get that pre-order functionality that I previously mentioned on either the last episode or the episode beforehand, because what I wanted to do is get that stock, but get it committed to be bought in advance, so I'm not spending like, I don't even say the number that I probably can't anyway, distributor would tell me off, but that I will get invoiced for this avatar order alone. And so by doing that pre-order functionality, I think it was one of the most high priority tasks that I needed to do. And I think if you are in a business or trying to set up a business with a similar model to mine, and obviously many others, I'm not inventing a new model here, get a pre-order functionality, get people committing to buy. So for me, it's a pay in full, it's a pre-order integration I've got. I'm putting all that money into a pot, forgetting about it to release day, because obviously, traditional disclaimer, if Wizards can't or don't do whatever they say in terms of delivering to my, obviously, distributor, who is the key distributor for Magic the Gathering in the UK, then I can just give everyone a full refund, no fuss, no qualms. But that is, hopefully not going to happen. But I want to make sure that that's safe for everyone, protecting the business at the same time. It generates all them funds in which, when the bill comes, if people want them, people have pre-ordered them, it sets that up for a very simple transaction. It gets me the product as quick as possible, no scrambling for where do I find that money, because the money is already there because the product's being purchased. And I think that's just really important for just any business in general. Just make sure you manage that effectively. It's not financial advice, please don't come at me. I just think it's safe to protect everyone's money, but also give them the access to the product and the ability to pre-order, because it's really nice to see. Because I put the collector booster boxes out on, I was going to Dungeons and Dragons, the little insight to my life, off to Dungeons and Dragons in Newcastle. I live in Carlisle, obviously where the Emporium is. And I made it live just before I went, and I was like, I hope this, I was mumbling, grumbling to my partner, who obviously drove me along. And I remember thinking, if these don't sell, I'm in a bit of a sticky situation here. Because obviously, the money's there. I've got a full-time job to subsidise any products and stuff coming in. That's not a worry. But my confidence with it also came from the fact that you see people online really wanting to collect booster boxes. There's people struggling to get to play booster boxes. So, I obviously, priced them as fair as I possibly could in terms of cost. Obviously, with the collector booster boxes, I'm a bit more. I increase the price a tiny bit more because it's not for the community that play the game. I want to be able to give access to people who can play the game, but also, actually get access to play booster boxes. So, yeah, within 24 hours, they sold out, at least my allocation though so far. So if any of you have made a reservation and are watching this, obviously it's safe and sound. And then obviously any of you that are watching and haven't been able to make a reservation at this moment in time, there are more coming, hopefully. On Friday I asked for, I think it was about 10 more collection booster boxes, because I had a pretty strong gut feeling that this would be as popular as it has turned out to be. So hopefully back on Monday I get them added to my account, and obviously then it's all just down to Wizards delivering, which is part and parcel of the problem. I don't know if you watch Rudy from Alpha Investments, and you've got your tinfoil hat on at the moment with the whole Amazon situation going on. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert in Magic. Never have been. I've got my friends who keep me quite honest in terms of the Magic, where people are. I can't remember the set, but I might be saying it wrong. But let me just check. I think it was Aether Drift or something like that. And I was like, with all the issue with Aether Drift or something along them lines. I was like, with all these kind of play booster boxes issues, why do I see this on sale? And literally my friend was just shaking his head, being like, great concept, poor execution. And that's, where I, Eddie, I'm learning the Magic way, and I lean into people who are the community and will continue to be the community. And I think that's really important for me as a new store owner who is trying to expand into new TCGs, that I am very kind of community driven if I'm learning something new. And obviously things with the existing products, I remain, with the community. Like, people tell you what they want to buy 90% of the time. It's usually not rocket science. The rocket science is usually getting hold of the product, especially if you're like anywhere in the Pokemon scene right now, which is why I stick very well away from it, because I feel that there is a massive bubble in TCG businesses, LGSs of my size, and people who are expanding quite aggressively and paying market rates. And if you're not shifting that product really fast, if or when supply catches up to you, you're going to be at quite a big loss. And I mentioned it before, I learned that hard way with a few Japanese sets, and I just didn't want that to happen to me, because I mean, Pokemon, it's always going to grow, but like, your business is a very fragile thing, especially within the first 5 years of kind of existing. But anyway, I spent too long talking about that. The next part for me, I was also looking at kind of more revenue streams, obviously digital this time. There is the idea floating around my cranium of TikTok and whatnot, and they do have bad vibes, but I'm taking that off the loudest complainers on social media. And I think that's something that I need to kind of get over, because obviously Whatnot can be a great revenue source, and everyone, especially in the card business, I see talking about Whatnot, says you won't shift that amount of product any way, shape or form the same way as you do on eBay. Because obviously a lot of my product, the majority of my product, a lot of my sales come through eBay. Obviously, in an ideal world, in an ideal circumstance, it all goes through Eddys Emporium. If you're watching this, go shop at my store. It's cheaper for you, more profitable for me. We both win. But doesn't mean that I have to ignore or fight that footfall. I'm never going to be as, trending in terms of people going to Eddys Emporium as, TikTok, as eBay, whatnot. That's a current in which I know that I can't fight. So if you can't fight them, join them. And whatnot gives you that kind of live bidding auction situation. And I know with TikTok Live, it's a similar sort of like, you buy something, put yourself in a queue, open up a pack, whatever it is. That is probably what I'm trying to get into soonish. That's more if I've got the spare time to do it. Right now, obviously, with a full-time job, planning a wedding, saving for a house, doing Eddys Emporium, trying to learn how to kind of become VAT registered, trying to learn how to do a self-assessment. It's, you don't want to kind of over encumber yourself and hit that burnout like I mentioned a few weeks back, where I just, I went on holiday, had a really lovely time, but I was just so gassed that I couldn't bring anything to the table in terms of energy for my job, energy for my partner, energy for Eddys Emporium, feel creative, feel happy within myself that, everything was going well. And I'm sure everyone can relate to that at some point. It's not exclusive to being overworked. Sometimes just too much is too much. So that is, well, I mean, actually tell me if you have ever tried or bought from Whatnot or TikTok, because I think I need more honest feedback, a bit more genuine feedback, because personally I don't think that there's enough there's probably too much complaint-based reviews, but I don't know if, have you had good experiences with Whatnot or TikTok? Again, you only hear the horror stories 90% of the time if you're not on the platform itself, but it's successful and it's growing. Still must be a reason for it, for buyers and for sellers. So yeah, let me know. And then what else we got here? Chinese cards. They are on the up and up. I've had quite a few people talking about them. Quite a few friends actually reached out to me to kind of ask, hey, Eddie, can you get hold of the, the 151? And obviously, you got the gem packs and all that kind of stuff. And it got me interested because obviously you listen to your audience. They tell you what they want 90% of the time. And man, the situation there is like, it's crazy. Like if you want to buy gem mint packs and things like that, you have to buy like cases of 20. And I think when I looked at if I wanted to buy, I don't know why I keep saying gem mint. It's like a habit. It's a PSA little tick in my brain. But I mean, you had to buy them by the case, and you had to buy them in bundles. I think it came up to about 2K for about 20 boxes of the volume 2 of the gem packs or boxes. And yeah, that still works out like, like 30-40 quid after tax per box. Someone do the math there. You could correct me if I'm wrong, but I just didn't see the value in it, especially when I talked to you a moment ago about being able to buy a vending machine. I think that would be a better way to invest money, but also, say I could be buying, avatar stuff for you with that £2,000. So it is really kind of neither here nor there right now in terms of a Chinese market, because I'm quite conscious that I'm deviating further away from an English market in an English speaking country. That for me should be a secondary or, top up product for me. But if you are keen on that, let me know, because I could be wrong and you could be like, Eddie, what the hell are you doing? I don't know. And moving down, yeah, sorry, I know we're about like 15-16 minutes here, but skip ahead if you don't like it. I was also looking at kind of promo cards, and this is kind of like a two-parter. So I think it was like the Yu-Gi-Oh! Jump promos, and it was more for like grading and selling, because there's Dark Magician Girl, I think Magi. I'll put it here or here, maybe here. Here looks better on the screen. It you can buy it for £10-12 in Japan. Get it sent over. It's a collab, obviously Shonen Jump. I think it's Shonen Jump. It's one of the Jump magazines anyway. You get it as a promo. It's very cool. And, in the whole grading scene, looking to find a market in which, and I think Japanese exclusives are a great way to go that keeps the element of exclusivity, and the ability to get hold of promos that not everyone sees every day. It could be a mistake, because obviously, go Pokemon. Why wouldn't you do that? It's hotcakes. Market's incredibly competitive, and also I'm a store that sells more than just Pokemon. So they're kind of the two key areas there, and this is where it kind of goes into my like next master plan. I say master quite loosely because it could be a big flop. So, and I don't mind sharing strategy with you, because there is a ridiculous amount of market available, and why can't we share? It was like a potential, like, and I'm going to call it like an impulse buying grading product. When you think about a graded product, you think about a 10, you think about the high chase cards. Now, when you think about, okay, well, what about the people getting into this, or the entry level people, or just the people that don't have the funds to buy them chase cards? With Pokemon, with all the other kind of promos that I've just mentioned about, you can get a bundle, and I'm going to use the MGC grade 10 bundle right now, because this is the kind of mechanic I'm looking at using. It costs roughly around £8 to £9 for 10 cards to get graded. If you get hold of a card for £5 to £10 or lower, so with my art rares, I can buy them in bulk from Japan. Some of them at grade 10 will sell for £30. So my feeling is, if I sell them at £20 to £25 or lower, of course, I'm making about £8 to £15 profit per card, potentially. Potentially is the big word here, because obviously you have to find the right card, you have to find the right characters, you have to find the grade. You also need to wait for the turnaround time. So it's not a perfect, quick flip situation. This is a very long-term strategy that you will be building up, or me, in this instance, will be building up for people to buy from. And if you're selling it at a below market, obviously, sorry MGC, but if you think PSA is here, MGC is probably about here in terms of the value wagon. I really like MGC. Not everyone can afford a PSA 10 though. If you give access to that market, I don't think it's been utilized yet in a way that gives access to people, but also it's, sub £25, sub £20. That's like impulse buy territory. Like, you don't really think about buying, 4 or 5 booster packs when you're at a shop and it's available. That's the same price as a 10. So if you get the right cards, you get the right art rare, there is the possibility for a cool market here. And my view is, and Pokey Any said it kind of best, it's the volumes game. So while I want to be able to get a PSA 10 that sells for 800 quid, and I pulled it out of a pack, the realistic chances of that are next to zero. But if I sell 100 cards with £5 profit on a grade 10, whatever you want to call it, that could be the difference. And obviously, if you're doing it at higher and higher and higher volumes, obviously, not always going to be £5 profit. It could be £10 profit. It depends on what you get. And that's the kind of where I'm exploring, trying to put my finger in as many pies to get an understanding for what the market wants. But that's because I'm new. I'm a Bambi in this entire world. Some experienced professionals right now probably watching this. If you're watching, thank you so much. You might be going, Eddie, you're so stupid. But I think that's a great thing, because if I make a mistake, I learn from it. And the great thing about this is it's a relatively low cost, potentially a very high reward situation here. Not many people, and as long as you're a collector and you understand what's a nice card, you're going to probably more likely sell it at some point later or another, because as an art rare, and we've all been there, you've gone, I'll buy that card, but I'll buy it next week, or I'll buy it next payday. And then when you go to buy that card again, it's gone up in value, and you go, I don't really want to spend that much money. And I think that's the kind of mentality that I'm bringing into it, because I'm quite like a budget collector. I'm getting into the mentality of maybe just buying one nice card now. But if something's like 300-400 quid, for me, it's got to be like kind of like Grail level card. But I appreciate the arts for all the other cards, all the other artists that go into it. And I think that's a really interesting kind of way that I can go with the graded market. It's like the opposite. If you flip it on its head, not many people are looking for the impulse buys. Everyone's looking for the big chase 10s. I could be wrong here, but that's kind of my kind of closing thought for this week's episode. And this will be a regular update, and if you do have kind of questions on like where my head's at with all that, and obviously it'll be very progressive, it could be a success, it could be not, let me know. And obviously you'll start to see a graded I think I've already built a graded area in for my current graded cards. Now they're priced a tiny bit higher than what I've just said with that whole kind of like, whoa, kind of crazy head, Always Sunny in Philadelphia meme. That's because right now I don't have the inventory to kind of justify that high volume of sales. However, that being said, if you do have something you're interested in on my website, always drop me a message. We can always work something out. I'm just a guy in Carlisle. I'm not a big corporate douchebag, and I don't. If I ever do become that, please throw a rock at me. Because that's not what Eddys Emporium is about. If we can work something out, I will work something out with you. I try my best to be fair, and as fair as I possibly can be. So, on that note, if you do like this, do I do a shameless like and subscribe plug here? Like and subscribe, follow, obviously, this kind of like little slice of my heart, and so cringy saying that, but you'll see this grow, and I've got every faith in this becoming something. You know, you do something you love, as long as, you know, it only dies when you stop caring about it. So thanks for watching. I'll catch you next week, and if you have any questions, just drop it in the comment section and I'll probably respond to you at some point. I'm terrible with my notifications though. I usually have my phone on silent because my TikTok tummy time is outrageous. I need to get my screen time down, but I'm a digital business and what can you do? Anyway, I'm waffling. I'll catch you on the next one. Ciao.